Hi, I'm Marcus Pulis, and this is the first video for Aquarian Anarchy. My co-host here is Michael Truthar, and I'll let him kind of go on what Aquarian Anarchy is. This is both of our projects, but a lot of times Michael takes the spearhead on this one. So,
Yeah. For me, Aquarian Anarchy is really important. So the idea is that with voluntary visions, both of us co-host that as well. With voluntary visions, we talk straight about voluntarism. We talk about the government, how the government causes problems in the free market. But both Marcus and I are very spiritually minded, oriented, and there is a lot to spirit, to compassion, to thinking about religions that hold a lot of weight whenever it comes to freedom. And so we kind of created a sister channel to Voluntary Visions in order to talk about all that for people that are interested in the conversation, and not just voluntarism.
right, and people might say, but how are they actually put together, because when they think about God, they don't think about state or government force. And the answer is, we're going to have a shop like we do for voluntary visions, and one of the T-shirts says there are no rulers in heaven. And many people, when they think about spirituality, they put it in terms of a bureaucracy as well, and I think that that's intentional. And what I believe is that God isn't a king, and God isn't a ruler passing down dictates to people. I believe that spirituality is much more decentralized, and my spirituality, which happens to have a focus on Afro-Caribbean religions such as Voodoo and Candomblé and those kinds of Santeria, those kinds of religions. Though I don't identify as like being that. I just am extremely influenced, but I'm also influenced by like Aleister Crowley and ceremonial magic and those kinds of things. But I don't believe that there is that kind of. It doesn't mean there's not a structure, but that's not the focus of what spirit is about.
For me, I am. I tell people I'm an atheist if I want to tell them something really quick that they can, to some degree, understand. But what I actually believe is that the entirety of the universe, and all the multiverses and all the things that consist of that, I give it the name God. And I do see it as a higher power, but I see my consciousness as a sliver of the consciousness of God, just as Mark says, just as yours is, and just as Charlie Manson's is. Right? Everyone together is what you would call God, in my belief. I also work with voodoo. I work with occult stuff, which just means hidden, like hidden knowledge. So
Can I interject here?
philosophers, stuff like that.
Can I
Yeah,
interject?
sure.
One of the things that we would like to, when we use the word occult, I want to differentiate that word from what many people in some freedom circles or even voluntarist or anarchist circles like to talk about: the hidden government behind everything, the it's controlled by the Masons and all of that. And though I do think that the Masons were involved with the kind of occult that we're talking about, that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about a shadow government that is trying to control people. I believe that exists, but that's not what we're talking about when we say occult.
By viewing our studio, it becomes readily obvious that we are not a part of those rich elitist Illuminati. Not at all. Haven't even got an invitation.
I got an invitation. It was called the OTO, and and
Me too.
but that real the organization, if they're controlling the world, we don't have a thing to worry about, because frankly they don't have. They talk about that they are an organization. They don't have enough organization for that. Not that I don't have very good friends within the fraternal order called the OTO. It isn't as nefarious as some people have made them out to be, just like the
I think
Masons.
Times Magazine actually put them in as one of the top 20 occult societies and all that
They're
stuff.
certainly the largest by membership.
Yeah. But just in case you're curious, what is it like going to an occult meeting with the OTO? It's you get there, you say hey to your friends, you get a pop out of the fridge, make sure you leave $1 to help cover costs. You talk about stuff, and then you do stuff. It's not, all hood and robe and all that kind of stuff.
I'd like it better if it was.
But it is important to understand that all that stuff is kind of bullshit, and what's real is your own understanding of the inner workings of who you are and how you identify that. For me, I use the old philosophies and things of that nature because it resonates with me and it makes sense to me.
Yeah, and I also want to talking about the paradigm. It's not that I don't believe that Jupiter, for instance, the archetype of the king, isn't part of our psyche. It certainly is. It's just that it's not in charge. To me, that king archetype is just another archetype amongst other archetypes, and no more powerful or more valuable than any other. And for me, as a voluntarist, I just have found, and it's not. What's funny is it's not like I said, okay, I'm a voluntarist, and this is why it has to work this way. I actually came to my ideas on freedom and voluntarism from my spirituality. I read, and I'm actually pretty well read when it comes to Thelemic, which is the philosophy of Aleister Crowley, and his philosophical tenets of basically self-ownership.
Yeah, it's really simple. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. It's not do what you want to is the whole of the law. It's do your purpose in life is everything.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be a center of that pestilence, which is what the comment says you will be if you talk about it, although I think that's all bullshit. I don't follow anybody's rules, so I do what I want. I do what I want! And it is what it is. But philosophically, really, I'm a deist. I believe that God, if you will, isn't as involved as you might think. Now, some people might say, okay, those
blind watchmaker.
It would, yeah, to a degree. That's a kind of deist. The blind watchmaker is largely made popular by Benjamin Franklin, who was a deist and possibly an occultist. Maybe in our sense and maybe in the other sense. He was certainly a member of a group called the Hellfire Club, which there's talks of whether that was just a sex club and if you know anything about Benjamin Franklin, it almost certainly was a sex club. Because if it was and there was a round, he's joining it.
Benjamin Franklin was also a fool that did not wrap his tool.
Yeah. So yeah, so anyway, deism to me, that is a kind of deism. And that is actually more of a deist. Michael likes to use the title atheist. In my mind, he's a deist. He's a different kind of deist than I am. To him, he is a inactive deist. I'm an active deist.
Okay, so the reason why I say atheist to a lot of people is because if I say anything but atheist, a lot of people just assume that what I mean is a man on the cloud, the gray beard, that's
Jupiter.
All their time even. That's trying to judge the world and rule the world in a certain way. Mm-hmm. And I'm not that, so I tell people I'm an atheist for short.
Right. For me, God isn't as involved as a Christian or even a Hindu or sometimes a Wiccan which is a nature-based religion for those of you that don't know, would believe. I don't think God pays that much fucking attention. I don't think that God has that kind of attention. Do I think that God has consciousness? The answer is yes, I do. I don't think that consciousness is as involved as people want it to be. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't believe that occasionally, every once in a while, and I mean every once in a very long while, like once in a lifetime at the most, that God maybe might interfere, because I believe there might be a particular way that we are moving as a universe in a particular direction, and he might intervene to make sure that that happens. I don't think that we are generally aware of that. I don't think that we know that God acted. I think that it is not connected to our consciousness. But I do believe in magic. And I do believe that we have control over things, and that there are spirits. And I think that those energies, and I know you're nipping at the bud to comment.
I really
I'm done to make this. But anyway, I think that those energies are different from God and are still part of God.
Okay, so for one, whenever he says magic, drop Harry Potter. Nothing to do with Harry Potter. Magic is who's the guy? Lon Duquette. He says that it's only as big as your brain. Magic is only as big as your head, but you have no idea how big your head is. Okay, so don't think of shooting fireballs out of your hand and stuff like that.
Unless you have a chemical that enables you to do that.
Well, alchemy or something like that, I suppose. But think instead about forming a relationship with the Godhead. Not necessarily God, the Godhead. And the reason why I point this out is because we've shared who we are, but it doesn't matter what you are. If you're a Hindu, a Jew, a Christian, or a Catholic, well, they're kind of Christian. Anyways, no matter what you are, I'm not going to get to the weeds here. This can still be for you if you're spiritually minded. That is right. What binds this channel.
Right. As a Christian, though I am not a Christian, as a Christian, you could see God as the higher power, but not necessarily a king. I mean, why would he give you free will? From a Christian perspective, why would God give you free will and then tell you not to use it? That doesn't make any sense. You know, as a Christian, maybe you got a rule book and here, don't do these things. And they're mostly vague. You know, don't steal. It doesn't say don't steal because of this, this, and this, or this, that, or the other thing, don't steal. So it's open to interpretation. And that's how you get different kinds of Christianity. So there isn't just because I'm not a Christian doesn't mean that you can't be a Christian and learn from this concept that God isn't a king. And, you know, and if that has a problem, then we are probably not the program for you. If you do see God as a king, I don't. You know.
Sure. But, yeah, so just to kind of sum this up a little bit, this channel is going to be talking about voluntarism and spirituality and everything that connects those two, like compassion for others, why it's wrong to go around and kill Nazis. Okay? Sounds like a good idea because Nazis are bad. And all these movies, they tell us to kill them. Well, maybe instead we should understand who people are, why they do things, have compassion, and not follow this narrative that's being given to us from the news and from the federal government, but instead think for ourselves.
And from churches.
And from churches, which for the most of our history has simply been an extension of the government.
And for examples of people that, if you are in an order that dictates your behavior based on a bureaucratic nonsense, that's not us either.
I actually want to do a video on cults. I think that would be a really good one.
So basically, what we want to present to you is an alternative idea of how to integrate magic, spirituality, the concepts of God into a non-centralized understanding of the world. And from our backgrounds, this isn't just, you know, us coming up with ideas. There's some foundation for this. You can look into the writings of Crowley. I could make the argument every day, you know, that voodoo is a decentralized religion. It just is. Because who's the boss of the Loa, which are the voodoo gods? Who's in charge? No one's in charge. Yeah, they have jobs. Legba's job, Legba is the opener of the ways, is to open the ways. That's what he does. Is he in charge? No.
You literally can't call another Loa until you've called Legba to open the ways, but Legba is still not in charge.
Right. He's not in charge. He's not. His job. He said, "Hey, I want to talk to Erzuli, the goddess of love. Legba, can you hook me up?" I mean, this is just a reality of nature, and that's part of it. We are not the enemies of nature. We are the friends of nature. We work within natural processes. Nature is not structuralized. The fact is that, yes, sometimes you have an alpha male. Sometimes that alpha male is the general leader. But it's not like he was born a leader and he decided, no, he fought for that. And he showed that he's in charge. And if at any point he fails to be good at that, somebody else will take his place. That's how nature works. We work with nature, and nature is part of who we are. Does that mean that we're a nature religion? No, it doesn't mean that we're a nature religion.
I'm actually against religion. Just kind of put that out there to you.
Yeah, and the biggest religion that I think that we fight is sadism. And that's part of what the point of this is. The religion we're denying, you can be a Christian, again. You can be a Jew. You can be a Muslim. You can be a whatever. It doesn't matter. A Wiccan, a Thelemite, whatever your particular religious persuasion is. Buddhist, I don't care. The religion that is enslaving people is the religion of statism, is the religion of I have a master, I have an authority who is in charge of me. The bottom line is you own yourself. You are in charge of you. You are in charge of your own spirituality. And yes, maybe Jesus or Muhammad or is your inspiration or is your savior or whatever. That's all fine. But you have a relationship with them, not a relationship imposed by a strict set of rules and a strict ruler. Maybe you impose. I have rules in my spirituality. I call Legba before I do things. But that doesn't mean that it was imposed on me by someone else.
So, if you want to learn more about spirituality, religions, and where we're going with this, we invite you to like, comment, and subscribe. Those are the three, right?
Absolutely. And if you have ideas, Michael and I have to be clear, I've done this for over 20 years. My spirituality, Michael's spirituality, we're not new. We're not newbies. We've been doing this for a very long time. So we know a lot. I know about Kabbalah. I know about Enochian. I know about voodoo. I know about a variety of different kinds of religions and spirituality.
About Christianity?
I do know about Christianity, Gnosticism, Judaism, Islam,
Hinduism.
We know a lot about these because this is something that both of us are passionate about.
Yeah.
And so if you have an idea, the chances, I don't do much yoga, but I know a shit ton about it. And if you're interested in knowing more about that kind of feedback is exactly what we're looking for, because that gives us a way to move forward.
Yeah.
So again, as Michael said, like, share. If you're watching this on BitChute, please take a look soon. We don't have it yet, but we will very soon be having a store and a website. So once those projects are done, we'll announce them on a video. I'll announce it on Facebook because we will work with Voluntary Visions because this is a voluntary vision. It happens to be ran by the same people running Voluntary Visions.
VoluntaryVisionsMedia.com.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. If you liked it, share, like, tip. Have a good one.
Thanks for watching, y'all. We'll see y'all soon.